And then, of course, the bathroom scene where he comes up with the gloves behind him, and then he finally, oh, Patrick, I've been, hoping, it's just like this movie has gone in so many strange directions right now. I don't even know anymore.
And he washes his hands with the gloves
on. With the gloves on. With the gloves. I love it. It's amazing. Yes. It's like Ace Ventura or something. Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Scary Movie Project, the podcast where we talk about, what else? Scary movies, and where we always have reservations at Dorsia. What a wonderful film we're going to discuss today. A wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. 2000s, you know it, American Psycho, right? Okay, it's fabulous. It's like a look into the 80s, right? Back into the 80s. And of course, in the 80s, how did you watch your movies? You watched them on VHS. So I said, who better to be on this episode here than my friend, horror macaroni herself, Lisa. Lisa, thank you for being here. I hope you were excited to talk about our friend Patrick Bateman.
One of my favorite topics to talk about. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Patrick Bateman likes to return videotapes. I believe that's something he enjoys doing, isn't it? Yes.
He certainly does, especially to get out of conversation.
He sure does. So this is a movie that is based on a book. Everything's based on a book, right? I've read the book. I think you've read the book, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So we like to ruin movies here. I don't like to ruin books, but we'll get to that later. But obviously, right off the bat, you should read the book. Brett Easton Ellis, okay? And I read almost everything by him. And again, we'll dive into it. But American Psycho, right? It kicks off with these lovely shots of this restaurant. Well, actually, it's a cool open with the sauce being dropped on plates and stuff as like the opening credits kind of open, which is kind of nice, right?
In the beginning credits, like with that sauce, when you have the reveal, it kind of like sets the tone for the movie of like the ambiguity. Like, what is this? What is this, like a sauce? And then you kind of see that you're already introduced to it right from the beginning.
Very good. Directed by Mary Herron, we'll also mention. And if you know the movie, it's quite violent, and it's directed by a woman, which I find notable. And co-written screenplay by Guinevere Turner as well. So I think that's pretty interesting, right? So the sauce is going on, then we get to the restaurant, and the maitre d' and the waiter, our special for today is a roasted red rabbit with a cream sauce, and he just goes on and on. And, it's these Wall Street yuppie guys that are having dinner, and at the end, they all throw in their credit cards, and it's like, okay, here we go, this is what we're going to do here. And we're introduced to this guy, Patrick Bateman, and he's waking up in the morning, and he's talking about his routine. And he talks about his moisturizer and his skincare and his mask that he puts on and something with little to no alcohol because alcohol dries out the skin. And he makes you look old. Then he talks about, there's an illusion of Patrick Bateman, but I'm just not there. And he peels off like his mask. That was in the ads. Remember the ads? And that was like, you wanted to watch that because you weren't really sure what the heck that was. What is this guy doing, right?
Yeah, I kind of started to like, what is this movie about?
Yes.
What is going on? Like this very pristine, like almost like statuesque person pulling with a serious face. Like, what am I watching?
Those to me were like, I loved those ads and those trailers because those to me were so kind of unique. I felt like they really kind of were different than trailers and movies I feel like that I would see nowadays. They kind of left you like ambiguous there too, like you said, I guess. Yeah, they were really cool.
Absolutely.
But he talks, and of course he lives in West 81st Street in Central Park West, and he's an investment banker. And then when he's off to work and Walking on Sunshine is playing, right?
Yes.
And he's got his old Walkman on, and he's walking into his office. And within the first 15 minutes, you're laughing because he gets in, and his secretary comes to see him. And who is his secretary? Who plays his secretary? Gene? Chloe Sevigny.
Oh yes.
Which is from, I don't know how you feel, I don't know if you ever mentioned this, one of my favorite films, I think, ever is Kids. Did you ever see Kids?
I was just about to say Kids, yeah.
So she's Jenny from Kids, which Kids is, forget it. If you haven't seen Kids, you got problems. You need to watch that right now. Do you own Kids on VHS?
I do not. That is one, like, that's kind of a white whale. Like, if I found that.
Oh, man.
Yes.
That's amazing. I don't know. Okay, that was hard to find. I didn't know that. All right. So she comes in and says, he says, yeah, I need you to make me reservations for lunch at 12:30 at blah, blah. Then I need dinner. And it's like, what is going on here? And then he talks about how he doesn't want to talk to someone, and the phone rings. I'm not here. And he closes the door and just turns on the television and starts watching Jeopardy. And you're like, this guy does nothing.
Does nothing, yes. And I love that poking of fun of like investment bankers. Like, do nothing.
God.
He goes to the office 8 to 10 hours, however long his workday is, does nothing except for just be in his mad mind.
And of course, he apologized for coming in late because he had an aerobics class. Remember that was he came in. So this guy does nothing. You know, again, this slice of life of whatever happened back then. And we just start getting into these worlds here where he's just basically going to dinners and his aimless relationship with his fiancee Evelyn, who is Reese Witherspoon. Very random. Yeah. She's great. Like, she was huge at that time, and she was so big. She had done what's the movie with the
Legally Blonde,
Cruel Intentions, right?
Cruel Intentions, yes.
She blew up like when that happened, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, cool. Her role is so limited. I mean, she's fine. She plays it well, but he's talking, and then he's the narrator, and as in the book says, Patrick Bateman is an unreliable narrator, right?
Yeah, unreliable.
Right. So he's talking about how I have this nothing relationship with Evelyn. I don't really care about her. I'm pretty sure she's having sex with so and so, but that's fine because I'm cheating on her best friend too.
Yes.
Courtney's almost perfectly perfect in every way.
Yes. I love how it transitions into that, because it's also Justin Theroux, who is like, when you pan over, you see him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's having an affair, and then
I'm pretty sure she's with Timothy Bryce, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is pretty much their life. You realize at this point, they just go to these restaurants and they sit around, they smoke and they drink and they don't really do much. And then you start getting into the world, and then of course we get the business card scene, right? Who can't forget the business card scene?
Yes.
What do you think of this? Bone with raised lettering on, and you see Bateman, he almost has like a heart attack when he shows him, like is it Paul Allen's card finally or something, I guess?
That
I don't know.
Inner panic of like, oh
yes,
my God,
sheer terror of this guy's business card, right? And it's so funny. And then you start to realize as you get along here, these guys are continually mistaking one another, right? They think he's Marcus Halberstram. Jared Leto, love Jared Leto. Another Requiem for a Dream, Jared Leto. I mean, come on, right? My goodness gracious. Yeah. And he comes, Halberstram, how's the whatever account going? They don't know each other. And he just kind of goes with it. And he's, he has a similar haircut. However, mine's a little bit better.
I love the little parts of like that too, that are always just like, he has this, but I have this. And like, it's always that comparison, that's always like that. Yeah. I have this, and like, even later on, he's like, his apartment's a little bit cleaner.
Yes,
my panic sets in.
Yes, and I love when he's at the beginning. He's talking about how he wakes up in the morning. If his face feels puffy, he'll put on an ice pack. Yeah, and then he goes and does his crunches. I can do 1,000 of them now. He says. So they he tells him, hey, you're doing Friday. He's no can do Friday. Got reservations at Dorsia, and that's like the Dorsia that's our joke to open the show. It's, I guess. I don't think it's a real restaurant, right? It's made up, right? I've never heard of it. Yeah. But it's the restaurant that nobody can get into, right? It's like the big, everybody wants to go to Dorsia. So he does this deal then where he goes and he has dinner with Paul Allen at some Mexican joint, right? Nothing fancy at all. Mm-hmm. And he just gets him all drunk, and he's talking about, I've got a tanning bed. You should look at buying your own of it. And he's like, another martini, Paul? And he gets Paul, banged up, right?
Drunk, yeah. And
then one of my favorite scenes, he brings him back to the apartment, right? Brings him back to his apartment, which is just, this white, clean apartment. It's so sterile. And so he's in there, and he's like, what do you got? We got these newspapers. What do you got? A little chow or something running around? And that's when he has the axe, and he has a clear raincoat on. And he's got an axe, and he's like moonwalking, like back and forth. Like, you're, as the audience, something awful is about to happen here. But Jared Leto, he has no idea what's going on. He has no idea what's about to happen to him. Yeah. And that's when he starts talking about Huey Lewis, right?
Yes. I was saying he's about to, he goes like, you like Huey Lewis in the news? And he's like showing him. But I love when he's doing that moonwalk. He's like, he's been compared to Elvis Costello. But I think that Huey has a more cynical, and then just like immediately, like,
hey, Paul! Yeah. So I have that song on my when I work out. I have the song. I've seen Huey Lewis in the News once in concert. They rock. They're great. Back to the Future, whatever, right? So, but the main, I have to admit, I have the song because of the movie. And when that song comes on during my workout, I don't care if people around me, I start literally lip syncing to myself like those lines. And I just hey, let me see you get reservations at Dorsey now, you stupid bastard. You know? Like, and that's what happens. He raises the axe and he just completely butchers Paul Allen. Yeah, and he says that line, look at the reservations at Dorsey now, you stupid bastard. And I just cannot stop laughing. And it's just this bloodbath. And then you see why he has the raincoat on. And then he calmly sits down, lights a cigar, just sits back and lights
and I just love how when he takes it off, it's just all blood filled. His hair is a mess, and he's just
like
sitting
calmly breathes. He's got blood all over his face. His suit didn't ruin his suit, he's all good. And yeah, when he starts, so that's another thing we got to get into when we get to the book is these tangents about his bands. But anyway, so he kills Paul Allen, and then later we meet Willem Dafoe, great actor. We love. I love Platoon. That's when I think of Willem Dafoe, right? But
absolutely, Willem Dafoe is just amazing all around.
He's in this new movie that everyone says is great, right?
He's in Poor Things.
Yes. I have not seen this, but I hear very good things. So he is
wonderful in that movie. Honestly, everybody does a great job in that movie. We just recently got to see it. And seeing Willem Dafoe like in American Psycho too, like the way it's cut and you know the lore behind it, like of how it was filmed and how it was cut. It just shows the vast. The range that Willem Dafoe can do
He's great. He's been doing it forever. I mean, he's forever. He's incredible. So he plays I can't remember the cop's name. I don't think it matters. Whatever. He's a detective. But he eventually comes to see Patrick, and I love in his office. So Patrick pretends to be on the phone. Yep, got it. You want to do this? Wait, got it. Good. And he comes in and he sits down with them. Hey, I wanted to check in on this. And he's like, I don't know much about him. Part of that Yale thing. He's probably, a closet homosexual. And these random just comments he's making about Paul Allen.
Yes.
And you realize you're just making fun of him again. And that's when he says the great line where he's in a hurry because he has a dinner or lunch reservation with Cliff Huxtable.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow. Oh, this is hilarious. And the cop says nothing about it. It doesn't seem weird to him or anything. But then you start to think, okay, this guy's nuts. He killed this guy. And now he's, they're investigating him, I guess. And, Christmas time comes, whatever, and he's, there's a stupid party with his fiance, and they all go to dinner and everything together still. Oh, and I love, what's the restaurant they go to where the menu is in Braille? You remember that scene?
Oh, yes.
He hands it to him, and he goes, here you go, the menu's in Braille. And you're like, what?
Yes.
And what's-her-face's cousins come, they're like goth, right? And they start talking about, what about the massacres in Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka. Yes.
Oh my God. And he's like, well, one thing we have to end apartheid. And after that, we have to finish homelessness. And he goes on this just rampage. Speaking of homelessness, I'll mention this scene. I don't want to talk about it because I don't know how I get into this every single time.
Yeah.
I love dogs, and every movie I mention somehow is a terrible dog scene. I don't know why I do this to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That scene though, with the homeless dude and the dog, I can't. I can't do it. I can't. It's bad enough he kills the homeless dude, but dude, the dog, man, I can't do it. But it just goes to show how cruel this dude really is, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's just so messed up.
Yeah, no one's safe.
No, but you get to kind of an idea with this guy. He's nuts, right? So then we have, I think we get into the scene right where he picks up the prostitute, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he picks her up. He's just driving downtown, I guess. He's like, I haven't seen you around here. And she's like, well, you haven't been looking or something. And he gets her in the limo, and she says, I'm not supposed to, but whatever. I think I'll call you Christy, And,
Christy, yes.
And he brings her to the house, and he calls escorts her, and he says, hey, I need a blonde. I can't stress enough. I need a blonde woman, okay? Blonde. And she shows up, and he goes, so you're here. How wonderful. And he, not really very blonde, are you?
I love that part, too. He's like, not really blonde. More like a dirty blonde.
Yeah. And this is after he has the other woman in the bath, and he's like, why don't you get cleaned up and come on out? Meet us for drinks. And and then that whole scene is a great scene. Because that's when he starts just lunching out about, is he talking about Whitney? Who's he talking about? What band? Or Phil Collins?
He's talking about Phil Collins because then he plays the studio.
Yes. And that's when he gets out the video camera. Sabrina, why don't you start dancing a little bit?
Yep.
And he's just directing things, and he's still talking about this. And then, of course, the great line, don't just stare at it, eat it. And he's sitting there, he's like flexing, and it's just like, oh,
watching
dude,
himself. Yes.
Oh my God.
Because that whole scene too,
So
where
hilarious.
where the threesome happens, is where the cut was for that we were kind of talking about before the show, but like on the documentary, this film is not yet rated. 3 seconds was cut out of the movie, and it was during the threesome scene. They have already shot the threesome, but because you saw pubic hair for a little too long, they had to cut that. He gets
it's
out.
so interesting the things that they tell you that you can't have. Like you can swear all you want, but you can't see any no body parts at all, right?
Right.
I mean, I think I originally heard they wanted to shoot this film in black and white and just say the hell with the ratings and release it as a total X film. And just literally page for page, like what he does to people. So, would I have watched it? Yes, I would have. But anyway, and of course, I love the old '80s camcorder that he has set up, which is so great.
Yes,
it's so funny. So that's innocent enough. Threesome, do your thing. That's all good, right? But then then they're laying there, they're all sleeping, I guess, right? And then he gets up and you see him with he opens a drawer and he has all kinds of tools in there, and she's like, "Well, I'm leaving. We're not through yet." He pays him, they leave, nothing happens, whatever.
Yeah, and the subtleness of the way they show the prostitutes leaving, and when you kind of get a glimpse of the bloody nose, and you're not really sure, you see a little bit, but you see them piss when they're leaving. You're just like, something happened.
Well, it's kind of frightening, right? It's kind of scary, that by itself is kind of scary enough because that stuff is, forget a silly movie about stuff like that really happens. So that's scary, but. And so then he meets back up with the cop, right, I guess, and he starts doing some more detective work because, and that's when you realize more again about who's who because he talks about Paul Allen again, and he says, well, has anybody seen him? Well, actually, yes. 2 people said they saw him in London, and it's like, this is so weird. And remember, he had gone back to Paul's apartment, and he raided it, and he made a phony message, hey, I'm in London, hasta la vista, or something like that.
Yeah, it's made it like the most douchey, outgoing.
Yes. Total dude message, exactly. And then Bateman's starting to sweat it. He's starting to kind of get worried about stuff, but at the same time, you kind of this cop seems to be so nonchalant almost. And then I love when the scene where he's in the dry cleaners and he's yelling at them, trying to ask them. I
was just watching that scene right before we got on here too, and he's like, "It's cranberry juice, apple."
What's her? Some woman. I don't know who is the one. I don't remember who she is. Shows up and you can please tell them to get these stains out. And she's like, "What is that?" And you see the look on her eyes is like, "What on earth is?" And he's like, "Oh, it's crayon apple." And he tries to hide it.
He tries to bundle it up. Yes.
Like she won't see it or something.
And I love that break that it has because he's arguing with the dry cleaner owners. He's arguing, and then it just breaks. He's like, "If you don't shut the fuck up, I will kill you."
Yeah.
And just and she's like, oh, and then it cuts right back into him arguing. So you get that glimpse of is this happening?
Yes, and that's a great. I love that because then we see them in the bar, in the restaurant, whatever, and there's 20 people in a bathroom doing coke, and it's again the snapshot of 80s New York, right? I mean, I didn't live it, I wasn't there, but my understanding is that was a thing that really happened. That kind of stuff was real.
And one of my favorite lines of that movie is in that scene when he's like, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to do drugs in here."
Yes. That is wonderful. Trying to do drugs in here. And he hops over the stall and starts yelling at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're getting all coked out, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, this isn't very good." "Well, if we just do enough of it, we'll be fine," he tells him.
Yes.
And that's that part you're not sure what's happening was when he's sitting there to the woman, remember the bartender too. She's like, "It's a cash bar." And he says, "You're a stupid, ugly," I'm not going to say it, whatever. "I want to kill you and play around with your blood," right?
Yes. Again, I have to say, because I had that movie on and I quoted it right before it happened. And I was just like, man, I do know. But that scene too, because again, you kind of have that between the beginning of the sauce being dribbled, and then you have him "You're a stupid, ugly B word,"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna stab you to death and play around with your blood. And then it's just did he really say that? But at the same time, it's a club. Who's gonna hear him?
You think to yourself, all the times you've been somewhere like that, and you could scream at the top, and no one would hear you, right? Yeah, exactly. And then
he comes back into play later on too.
When he's sitting there with the women at the table, and she said, "Well, what do you do?" "Well, me, I'm into murders and executions mostly." And it's so funny. Yeah.
Depends. Why?
The guys that I know that are into mergers and acquisitions, and you're like, "Oh, this is great. This is so good what they're doing here. Yeah, this is so great." So then, he decides, "I'm going to get prostitutes again." And he goes and he finds that woman again. She's like, "I had to go to the emergency room after last time. I don't really want to do this again." And he's like, "Nah, it's all good. Don't worry about it." And Or no, was his did he invite his secretary over first? I forget which one happens first.
I think he does that after.
Okay, so he gets these two. So he gets this woman again to come, and then he invites. I guess is it some friend of his? This woman, and the woman playing her is Guinevere Turner, who's wrote the script. She's good. She's very good.
Yes.
She's this total snobby woman. Well, I don't know. She just plays it so well. I think right. And she acts like, I'm not a lesbian. And she gets them all drunk, and the next thing they're making out.
And the funny thing is, she is a lesbian in real life.
Oh, is she? Okay. I did not know that. Interesting.
Turner is a lesbian because, because a lot of people thought Mary Herron was, but actually she's heterosexual. It was Guinevere Turner who was lesbian.
That's funny.
That's why, the feminist, perspective of the movie, because you have the producer and the director who are women.
That's good.
Really kind of highlights the misogyny and the kind of the laugh at satire, but the misogyny
so
of
much
the
satire.
book.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what it got lost on a lot of people, unfortunately, I think. Yes. But I love that because she's so of the time, right? She's I'm going to call, so and so, hello, this is, whatever. I need your services. Take that to me, whatever you want. And that whole, we went to Sarah Lawrence. She's like, those are Sarah Lawrence guys, Patrick.
Yes.
And then so this time, before they get drunk and start making out, that's when he's lunching out about the Whitney Houston stuff. Is that the time then he starts doing that?
Yes, because then she's like, "Are you talking about Whitney?" She makes a kind of a snide comment about it as they're making out the couch.
And he has that his entertainment center. So I love it to death. It's just beautiful. And he's, that's, I don't want to say that. That's a very nice I don't want to get you drunk. That's a very nice Chardonnay you're not drinking.
Yes.
And so then they start making out, and that's when it seems innocent enough again. And then the Christie woman starts to get up. She's trying to be all quiet and leave, and you look over, and the sheets are all bloody. And then you see the woman scream, and you see Patrick's just ripping into her, and he pulls back the sheets, and it's like, whoa, it's on now.
Yeah.
And then she starts running through the house, and it turns out it's this apartment of horrors.
Yeah.
It looks like when Jodie Foster finds the basement almost in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
All these rooms full of bodies and just rotting heads, and oh my God, this is nuts, right? And then the chainsaw. And he just comes out butt-ass naked with some sneakers on and a chainsaw. And the great part is the chainsaw is as meticulous as everything in his house. It's like this silver, perfect. You cannot buy this thing anywhere.
No.
It's this insane. You could never find it. Leatherface would not even want this thing. And she busts out the hall and starts banging on doors, and he just comes running out with it. And the scene is just so surreal because he just follows her down the stairs and drops that chainsaw, and it lands on her. It's impossible. I mean, that would never. Physics would not let this happen, obviously, but it's just such a great. And he's like, he's screaming at her.
Just screams out for.
And he's all bloody, and it's just it's wildly entertaining. It's so bizarre, but you love it.
Yes.
And the best part is nobody
impressed with the sneakers.
Yeah. I don't need to wear clothes, but I need sneakers on because I got to chase this woman. And the best part is nobody, he bangs on all these doors. Nobody comes out. Nobody. You never see a head stick out or anything. Never. Nope. So is this happening? I don't know. This is pretty wild. Oh my God. And that's later. Then he eventually asked Jean to come. Right. Yes. He says, where do you want to go? And she says, oh, why don't we go to Dorsia? And that's when he calls up, remember? And he asked the
reservation for
8:30. Great.
Yeah. It's just he's like, no, sir. I said, and he just hangs up.
Yeah. You didn't give them a name. They know me. It's fine.
They know me.
And then she comes over, and she's so in awe. She obviously has this huge crush on him, of course.
Patrick, your apartment's so nice.
Yeah, it's so nice. The sorbet, and putting the put it in a coaster, like that kind of reminds me of me. I've done that over the years. And they put that on a coaster. But he does that, and then of course he's walking around and he's opening the cabinets, and he finds the tape. What is that for? Tape. I have to tape something.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's standing behind her with a giant nail gun.
And that part always is so anxiety-inducing, right? Because she's standing straight forward. The feeling with somebody standing behind you, and just to be so I don't even know what's going on. I trust this person, and him just sitting there with the nail gun, holding it, and just you see the contemplating, and then the answer machine comes up.
Hi, yeah, Patrick. Yep, and then it's Evelyn. And let me tell you something. If you ever shot a nail gun, yeah, from that range, it's lights out. You're not surviving that.
Oh, absolutely. Kind of reminds me of No Country for Old Men with the reverse of it. With the cow.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. What an amazing movie, and that is the strangest device. I don't know who came up with that idea, but great for doing it. But anyway, watched. By the way, someone showed me this. I guess maybe you've seen it. Who's the guy from The King of Queens?
Kevin James.
Kevin James. He did these videos, I guess, where he does edits and he puts himself into movies, and he puts himself as the guy behind the counter from No Country for Old Men, and he's the one saying, "Well, what am I going to wager on?" Well, he's that guy. It is, oh my God!
I need to watch that. That's
amazing. And he does one for a Goodfellas, I think, too. Someone turned me on to this, and I couldn't stop laughing. So anyway, check that out.
Love it.
So yeah, then she comes on, and he's like, and obviously it saves her life, yes, because he was probably going to kill her. And she's like, yeah, I should probably leave. And he says, yeah, you probably should go.
Probably should. And so many different reasons why, right? She thinks it's because he's still with Evelyn. And he's like, no, you should go. Like, and that's saving her life.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So she rolls out, and then eventually he has dinner with her, and he finally he's drawing. I love the picture he's drawing of the woman he killed with the chainsaw, by the way, at the table.
And I love that. And I love the fact that they give like adult crayons in this very high, you know what I mean?
Well, you know what? I just thought about this when I watched it. I don't know if this is true or not. Maybe I'm just making this up. But remember he's asking Gene at one point to make reservations? Doesn't he ask to a restaurant called Crayons?
Crayons, something like that.
Is
right?
that it, maybe?
Yes.
I wonder if that's it. I don't know. Anyway. But he's telling her, we need to end this. This is not working anymore. We need to break up. And she's like, well, you're inhuman, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I don't like. She's like, well, our friends are all the same. He says, I don't care. You can have them.
One of my favorite lines of that movie, another one of them, is just like, well, your friends are my friends. And my friends are your friends. And never work out. He's like, I thought about it. You can have them.
I thought about it. You can have them. Yep. I don't have any real friends anyway, so forget that.
Yes.
And then, of course, I love the scene it's mixed in between there somewhere. Maybe I left that out, where he quotes Ed Gein when they're having drinks. Remember that?
Yes. And here, I want to also kind of nerd out for just a moment.
Please.
So that part where he's sitting with Matt Ross, Justin Theroux, like when they're all sitting there, and that's when Matt Ross goes to the bathroom.
Van Patten, and I guess what their names, I just remember. Lewis.
Louis Carruthers, yes.
I love when he sees Lewis on the street with the bag with Paul Allen. Where did you get that overnight bag? Jean-Paul Gaultier.
I love that. But in that scene when he's like, when he's like, you know what Ed Gein said? Funny enough, that was not Ed Gein who said that.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, that's Ed
Kemper. Oh, green. Okay,
when I see a woman walking down the street, I think two things. One part of me wants to take her out. She wants to be real nice and sweet, treat her right. What's the other part of him say? What her head looked like on a stick.
Now, that does make sense, because Ed Gein was just this quiet little man who I couldn't picture him saying that either. So that kind of does make sense.
Yep. And, Ed Gein was like the town babysitter, too. Like, people forget that. He was really good with kids. And he did.
Handyman.
But he was also schizophrenic, very kept to himself. Ed Kemper was the one who was like the co-ed killer. I mean, so.
That's like how a lot of these serial killers, they're outgoing. Women love them. They're charming. Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I think that part of the movie too, when he misquotes, part of me wants to believe that it was because of always messing up people throughout the whole movie, right? And nobody knows who it is. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows who said what, who's where. I want to believe that was done on purpose because of that reason. Yes.
Now that you say it, because I didn't know it either. I mean, we all, us horror folks, we love Ed Gein. He's an inspiration for many, many movies.
I have a sign behind me that says Hail Gein. So.
Plainfield. I hope to visit a friend in Wisconsin next year, and if I do, I am going to Plainfield. His house burned down. It's gone, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, now that you say it, though, that makes sense. Yeah. Again, did this really happen? This person, was it on purpose? Did they actually say this? Did they not know what he's talking? Right. And then, of course, the bathroom scene where he comes up with the gloves behind him, and then he finally, oh, Patrick, I've been, hoping, it's just like, this movie has gone in so many strange directions right now. I don't even know anymore.
And he washes his hands with the gloves on.
With the gloves on. With the gloves. I love it. It's amazing. Yes. It's like Ace Ventura or something. Yes. And so then he leaves, and he's in a panic, whatever, I guess. And then he has to meet with, he finally has lunch with the cop again.
Yes.
And again, it's like, well, that's not the information I have and all this stuff. And he's panicking because he doesn't know what's going on at this point. And finally he gets cleared because he's mistaken again for somebody else, saying he had lunch with you. And it's like, wow, this is so crazy. And so, yeah, he's broken up with her at this point. And then he finally, what am I missing here? Does he finally go and, is this when he goes to the ATM and then
feed me a stray cat?
Yeah, feed me the cat. He tries, and then he shoots a woman. And then this silly scene of him in a shootout in the street, setting off car alarms, and he finally goes to his office, and I love the phone call, and he calls his lawyer.
Yes.
It's Patrick Bateman, and I'm a pretty messed up guy, and I killed by some prostitutes, and I put their head in, and I ate some of them too, and he's like, I'm a pretty messed up guy, I guess.
I love the part when he says, like, and I ate some of them.
Yeah, I ate some of their brains. Yeah, I know. I love it. It's like so taboo, and there's like a helicopter, like a searchlight going on, like they're after him or something.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the apartment where he was in Paul Allen's, and everything's clean, and the realtor is there, and she's like, "Oh, are you my 1 o'clock or whatever?" And she messes with him. She calls the bluff, whatever. Did you respond to the ad in the Times? Oh yeah. Well, there was no ad in the Times. And she's like, you need to go. And he's like, and then he leaves. And at this point, you're confused. You don't really know what's happening anymore at this point. Mm-hmm. And then, he goes and he meets with his buddies again, right? And then I love the line from the one of the guys, and I mean, quote unquote, his buddies. They all hate each other.
They all hate each other.
Oh yeah. But he says, I'm not really hungry, but I just want reservations somewhere. Like that's all they care. They don't care about anything. Yeah, they have to have somewhere. And they're watching Reagan on TV, and then he meets up with his lawyer, and he's like, "Oh, that was so hilarious! You pretending to be so and so." And he's like, "No, this can't be true. I saw Paul, and I had dinner with him." Like, what again? And then he just sits there and he gives that, my pain is real, and I blah blah. And it goes on and on and on. And they don't use the line from the end of the book, but that's different. Yeah. And that's a wrap, man. It's pretty much over.
And this confession has meant nothing.
Yeah. There you go. This confession has meant nothing. So, and that's it.
Yes.
It's like,
and one part wild. Too, when you were talking about like the apartment too, like, the part in the book where he walks out and he's just so focused on the no exit sign.
The exit sign, the no exit. That was the thing. Yeah. That's the very end of the book, right? So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to ruin book, but this book is faithful enough, right? I guess. I mean, so the parts like about the music, right, where he just goes off on these tangents about music.
Yes.
It doesn't do any justice. In the book, there are literally 20, 30-page chapters on him talking about Phil Collins and Genesis and Huey Lewis for 25, 30 pages. Yes.
And the cool thing about it, too, because it reads like an article, kind of like what we were talking about. Like, it reads like an article, kind of taking away the human of it. Like, funny enough, Mary Herron was known for doing punk. She wrote for a lot of, for articles. She was a journalist, and she wrote about the underground scene of punk music. So this kind of like relates to, like, her article writing.
That would be fun, it sounds like.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, that's awesome. But yes, the pages of just music, the description of outfits, that's something, that's
so that's the other part, right? Yes. Like they do pretty, I mean, it's a 2-hour movie, or hour, you can't make it forever, right? You can never, you'd have a 12-hour movie, you don't want to watch it. I might, but his skincare and his personal grooming routine in the book too is the same thing. It goes on and on and on and on. And I love the fact, it's not in the movie, he lives in the same building as Tom Cruise.
Yes.
And he talks about it all the time. And then he sees Tom Cruise on the elevator, or he says he does at least, right? Mm-hmm. And he tells him he loves him in Cocktail or something.
Yes. Right? And it's so funny because, I think that it's famously known that he mimicked his character of, like, Patrick Bateman. Am I confused with Tom Cruise who's on Oprah? The seriousness of it. And one other thing too, with that being said, is like when Christian Bale like met, and I'm sure that this is something we can kind of bring up too, is like when he met Brett Easton Ellis to like talk about the movie, he showed up as Patrick Bateman. And
he was totally
completely method acting, showed up to lunch with him.
Amazing.
And Brett Easton Ellis had to tell him to stop because he was seeing
could you imagine that? A character you created and this guy is like actually doing this?
Nailed it. Like, he was on top of it so much that he's like, he told him he had to stop at some point because he was like, wow, this is somebody I created in real life.
that I can't even. I mean, I've never written a book. I never created characters. I can't imagine. That's almost scary. I mean, it's almost like someone showing up and playing you, sort of, maybe. I don't know, right?
It's like, is that
It'd be
who I
weird.
am? Is that yes? And because especially because Brett Easton Ellis said this book was the most like autobiography-ish towards him, because just the isolation. Because I think that one thing that's in the book and the movie is like kind of the play of isolation. We see a very plain apartment. We see, in the book, famously, his paintings are upside down because he doesn't understand art.
Right. Forgot about that.
But the isolation part of it, right? It's him. And he's stuck in his head all day. He's an investment banker, so he sits there and does nothing. Apartment is plain. There's nothing to it.
No, there's nothing there. Yeah, there's nothing there.
Nothing there.
He's an illusion. He's an illusion, as he says, right?
He's an illusion, right? And I think that's where, like, that whole satire, like, the big question, right? Is it real? Did he do it, or is it all in his head?
Yep, exactly. I know, and it's that's the thing that overall, you walk into that theater, having never seen read the book, you understand there's a lot of questionable what's happening here. I'm not sure about this. Or you kind of it's open ended. You don't know, right? But
yeah.
Then I think like other stuff from the book, like the rambling chapters about skincare and music, but the stuff he does to those women in the book is wow. So I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to ruin stuff, but there's one. Doesn't he take a woman's head and carve it like a jack-o'-lantern and put outside his house for Halloween? I think.
Yes. Yeah. And the gerbils. There's a lot of things.
Oh, the gerbils! I'm not going to go into that.
No, I'm going to that. There's a lot of things in the book that. Because especially when you're reading it, like you're visualizing all this. That's why like some of the paragraphs of just the way that he's describing outfits that are so clashing, like a plaid tie with a stripe this, and like if you picture that, like that doesn't match at all, because it's showing like the obscurity of like all these brand names, just like throwing language at you. And the big thing too of like male roles, right? Male roles, investment bankers, and all these things, and then women as objects.
Yep. So that's what's great about the whole thing. It's about this, it's a movie about this, but it's a movie about like also like a period in time about the 80s, right? I mean, these excess and the masters of the universe and these guys that ran everything and all their platinum credit cards, and the way they ran everything was so superficial, and it was all about the car you drove and the salary you made and the suit you wore, and women, objects of whatever.
And just kind of bouncing off what you just said and echoing what you just said, it's showing the society is also sociopathic. We're immediately judging, Patrick Bateman like he's sociopathic, he's a psychopath, but we're also seeing the society around him act the same. Act the same, which it also plays to the satire of the movie, punching upwards, right? The anything that you do will be covered up because we can't risk. Take the realtor, for example, right? When he goes back to clear out the bodies and it's already cleaned, rather than risk the value of the apartment, she tells him to get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that it's interesting though that this, the but that's a real thing. Like even today, I mean, people every morning wake up and they do those routines that he does. They put on their puffy eye mask. And, like that never goes away. Like that is what people do, and it's really sad, kind of maybe. And like I don't know,
absolutely.
Like you should take care of yourself. There's no doubt about it. But just like, I mean, there are two things that I will admit though. I mean, look, I like to work out, and I will admit I have a pension. I wear Brooks Brothers suits to work. Okay. I love my suits and my ties and my shirts and my my suspenders. Now that is the one thing I will say. Whenever I'm thinking of what tie and shirt to wear, I have Patrick Bateman running through my head, and you better believe when I'm doing sit-ups and I am thinking of Patrick Bateman when he's sitting there. Now, what I will say, and you've noticed this too, I'm sure, us connoisseurs, he is watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre while he's doing sit-ups, but the audio that goes with that clip is not correct, is it? No, it's not. No, it's not.
And that's where I like kind of what I was talking about the Ed Gein thing. I love that you mentioned this because again, it's just off enough, and you're like, is somebody going to pick up on this?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of ties with like the whole I have to return to videotape, right? The famous line from the movie. Like,
Love
why
it.
is he saying this? Why is this brought up? Because he
Yeah.
doesn't know how to leave a conversation. He
Nope.
thinks normal people would say something like this to exit a conversation.
That's right.
So like, I have to go. This is uncomfortable. I have
He
to
never
return to
has
video.
normal conversation because he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't.
Plus, also rentals at the time were rented by the day. So those
You did have to return these things. This is true. You did have to get them back on time. That part is accurate. Right.
Absolutely. But the funny thing too about that part is like the sudden departures, right? There's a couple of lines throughout the movie, even like the we went to go see Africa, Brave Africa. It was
a laugh riot.
Like, what?
I love that. I forgot about that. Oh God. It's a real laugh riot.
It's a real laugh riot. I love that scene too, because it's like you can see that he's trying to be human, and it's almost like, what would a human do in this situation?
Yes, no, it's totally because he is he is. He does not know how to. Yes, I mean, that is so true though. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Where Brett Easton Ellis had like kind of left off, where Mary Herron kind of picked up, and I thought this was really awesome, is that we're rarely true to ourselves. And I think that's what the movie's portraying. We're not true to ourselves, that we're usually guising up, we're usually disguising some deeper things like the brutality and dark desires that some people do have.
Hell yes.
And she can kind of show that like duality existing, and ultimately leave it just ambiguous enough that you're like, wait a second.
Right.
Like, is this happening? Like,
no, totally. And that to me is like, you've seen this movie, so that's the lasting thing, right? Is the fact that, for me, those two things I do, this movie and him run through my head when I'm, what shirt and tie. What would Patrick Bateman wear today? And how many sit-ups should I do? How many would Patrick Bateman do? Right?
You
and
can get like bracelets as WWPD.
Yes, exactly. Right. And it's just, but the great thing about him is, obviously those are, jokes I make, but the whole idea of him too is you wouldn't ever want to be him though. He sucks. He sucks. Right. He's terrible.
Right. And I think that's part of it too. Like, it's like when you actually pay attention to who this person is, it's like we obviously know they're not a good person, but he sucks.
He sucks. And really, I mean, he's obviously incredibly immature person. Clearly, but who really is him? We never really know who the hell he is anyway, I guess, right? So
yeah, and especially because he doesn't even know who he is half the time.
No.
And the male behavior, right? It's like mimicking the male behavior, and that was something that Easton Ellis said was like this movie, the satire of male behavior, and we see it demonstrated.
There's a great scene with that, I think, and I think it's the opening, right, where he talks about he's talking about someone being Jewish, and they're sitting around the table, and he's like, yeah, he's in there, and he probably spins a menorah, and Bateman goes, a dreidel, you spin a dreidel. Bateman wanted to fry you up some potato pancakes? No.
Some latkes?
Yes, no. Just cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. And it's just like, that's how it opens, and you again, he's awful, but you love him. I mean, we both love him. His character is incredible. I think I had heard they wanted DiCaprio to play him at one point. That seems silly to me. Johnny Depp, I can see that. He's great. But can you imagine anyone but Christian Bale have done this at this point? I mean, he's incredible, right? He's incredible.
And that's so funny that you brought that up too, because no, like I couldn't, because Christian Bale has such an intensity about him that is like it's so intimidating.
Well, we all know there's him in that movie set that one time, of course, right? When he went insane.
And what's so funny, is his intensity and the way that he's like so chiseled, and his facial expressions, because even when he's like, ooh, like at the Christmas party,
yes, he does a little silly,
yes,
when he's having the threesome and he's checking himself out and just like, this dude is it's amazing. I mean,
and
you know what
that too, like, see, like trying to think of Leonardo DiCaprio, somebody who I had a crush on since the moment I saw, like,
I can't picture that. Oh yes, growing. Oh my God, I forgot. Right, how about that?
Yes, I I know that Leonardo DiCaprio would have done a fair job, but
he's a great actor. He's great.
I just don't think he could match the energy that that Patrick Bateman is. You know what I mean?
No, he's not him. He's not.
No.
I can't imagine. Johnny Depp can do a whole bunch of stuff. He's great. Like maybe bring his Fear and Loathing character, maybe that, I don't know, but Like, I mean, Christian Bale's badass, though. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen The Machinist. That movie's amazing with him.
That was incredible. I
He's
always
amazing.
Everybody.
He's a great Bruce Wayne. You know, I think
so
he's
too.
pretty good, right? He's a great actor. I mean, but for me, he is Patrick Bateman. He is always going to be, and this role is, it's a part of pop culture for me at this point. I mean, this is almost 25 years ago now, right? This is, yeah.
And what's so funny, and I love that you said that, because along with that, because he made this role not only just so iconic, he put it as a staple of horror movies. We have a movie that's so ambiguous that lacks individuality, like the whole concept of like lacking individuality in this movie in corporate society, right?
Yep.
And then we're like, why would this be horror? And then you see this crazy person who has these, like, we're not really sure if he's killing people, but we're watching this happen going, wait a second.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention the part where when he's kirking out on the street and he's popping pills and he calls his secretary and he's like, you gotta just say no. And she finds his journal and starts going through all his shit that he's got in his office. That was wild. And he's drawing drawings.
And like when he's
bone, meat. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I think this movie, like overall this movie is, it keeps your attention the whole time because you're trying to figure it out. It's descriptive. It gives you the visuals. But at the same time, as you're watching it, you're like, I'm not sure if I like anybody in this movie.
And that's the point. That's what's great. You hate everyone. Yes.
Yes.
And it's great.
And then, like, even then, like, you're just like, get out of there.
Yeah. It's wonderful. No, this character is just, so I go to Monster Mania. And they have it in Philly, and they have it here up in Maryland, about an hour from me. And I guess it was 2 years ago, and there was a dude there, and he was amazing. And he was dressed from head to toe as Patrick Bateman. He had the suit, he had the hair, he had the Walkman, he was wearing the plastic rain, the see-through raincoat. He was incredible. He had VHS, and he had the old cell phone with him. And he was just walking around the entire time. And I remember walking up to him at one point and looking at him and going, Halberstram, right? And he goes, yeah. And he called me something, whatever. And I started talking about something. And I said, you been to Dorsia lately? Yeah, it's great. And he goes, I tell you what, though, I got to run. I got to return some videotapes. This guy, and he was just having these conversations with everyone at the show. And it was amazing. I wish I'd known the guy's name. I don't know. He was incredible. He was incredible. He was just so great.
Fun. You know, and I love that line. I mean, I feel like that's everybody's favorite line in the movie, right? I have to return to videotapes. Such an iconic line. And it shows like the fanciness, like, I own a VCR.
Right. Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't go write a whole chapter on that. But
yeah, seriously.
Having lunch with Cliff Huxtable is a pretty great line too. And the fact that the cop has no like reaction to it either is just idea. Like it was the biggest show on television at that moment, and it's just like he doesn't say anything. That just made me so. Yeah, we don't want to ruin the book, right? But there's differences. There's whatever. It's pretty good. I think it's faithful enough, right? But then the cool thing I think too is, Brett Easton Ellis is awesome. I read a lot of what he's done. Yeah. Less Than Zero, Rules of Attraction, Glamorama. I just read lately. Both Less Than Zero is not a great movie. Rules of Attraction is pretty cool, but there's a character in all of his books named Sean Bateman. And Sean Bateman is Patrick Bateman's younger brother.
That's so wild.
In all the books, there'll be this quick little sentence, like a blurb, just saying, hey, and, isn't that Patrick Bateman's brother? Or isn't that Sean Bateman's? And they'll mention his name just in passing, and it's really, really funny.
I love that, too. Yeah. I love that little detail in there, too.
Yep. Or Sean will be talking about something, and he'll say, yeah, I had to go visit my dumbass brother, Patrick, or something like that. And that's all it'll do. It won't go any deeper than that. But yeah, it's always pretty funny. So Brett Easton, I don't know. I think he heard a line saying he just didn't think this movie needed to be made, I guess was his bottom line on this. But he doesn't hate it. He doesn't love it. But he's like, whatever with it, I guess.
He was so hands-on during the making of it, too, which I think is great. You know what I mean? Because he wanted to be part of the casting. He wanted to be really hands-on with it. And you can see it. You can definitely see it. And kind of like I mentioned before with Mary Herron, kind of like picking up where he left off. And I think that is important when the author of the book is there and can absolutely give some kind of direction of this is how I envision this happening. But then the visual of the visuals of the movie, the panning scenes, the plain white, the everything about it.
Yeah.
Like it screams like corporate America. It screams it.
Absolutely. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. And I think it's pretty interesting and pretty important, significant maybe is the better word, that you got Mary Herron, a woman directing this film, and you have a script co-written by another woman in a book about nothing but horrendous things done to women. And
horrendous.
It's like, I mean, just the worst.
And I remember when I was watching, this film is not yet rated because, like we kind of mentioned before, because of that scene, 3 seconds was cut out of it. Obviously it was edited for TV and stuff. But during Mary Herron's interview talking about this, and she's like, they didn't care about the violence. They didn't care the violence against women. And this is a very feminist perspective of the movie, too, to be fair, because we have 2 women who are directing and producing this movie, having this more feminist perspective of the male behavior. But that's the scene you're gonna cut,
right? Yeah. It's I was saying earlier, it's so funny how there's the way the things they actually want to cut, but the certain stuff, there's things that they leave and you can't believe, like, how is that possible? So
absolutely.
And I just wonder, I hope those 2 women's message got across. Like, I hope everyone got it. I mean, I don't know, but because movies are always about something else, right? I always say that they're about a topic, but they're always about something else, and it's like,
of course.
Did this
so. And the movie that must not be mentioned, but mentioned at the same time, American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis.
I was gonna get into it. Have you seen it?
Very long time ago.
I have no desire to watch it.
It's directed by Morgan Freeman, but not
that Morgan Freeman. No.
Yes.
That would be so strange.
Oh my gosh, it would be so crazy.
So
the second one if you listen to the second one, it's like it confirms that murders did happen, but that movie does not exist.
Did they make a third?
Troll 2 is related to Troll.
Oh man, Troll 2. What a film. Wow. Did they make a third one?
Of Troll or American Psycho?
Well, I'd like to know that too, but
American Psycho, no. I think it was just the first one, the second one.
Wasn't Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld in Troll 2?
She was in Troll 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Troll 2 is
I just remember this fantasy world. Is she the one that ends up living in an apartment? It's like a giant garden or something.
Yes, and they turn her into the goddess, and she's doing that dance.
Yes. Wow. Yes. We've gone into Troll here, people. Okay. This is great. Anyway, no, Troll. I mean, wow, you should watch it. And Troll 2, Troll 2 and Exorcist 2. Watch 2 of the worst sequels ever made in the history of film.
Seriously, right?
But yeah, exactly. But I just think, hopefully everything they got. I mean, I get it. I think I get it. It's open to a lot of different things, I guess. Whatever. But the point is, this is a horrible guy. Everyone around him is horrible. Even his fiance, she's a terrible person. I'm sorry, she's horrible.
She's terrible too.
She's terrible. They're all terrible, and it's just the way these people are.
What do you think your biggest takeaway from the movie is?
The biggest takeaway? Who are people? I guess, right?
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Who are people?
Yeah,
do we know who the hell anybody? I mean, you know what? You always hear these whenever you hear about a murder or then they interview the neighbors. And what do you always hear from the neighbors? Well, he seemed like such a nice guy, and how could that... But you don't know. You don't know. Here's the thing. We know... What we do know is anyone's capable of anything, okay?
Yes.
Anyone. But what we don't know is we actually don't know the people. You were mentioning earlier, deep, horrible secrets and thoughts people have, right?
Yes.
That's real. And every time they say they're so shocked that this person... Why? Why are you shocked? Yes. You shouldn't be shocked, quite frankly.
Anybody's capable of anything. And this movie does prove that, right? This movie kind of shows that. I love that. That's your answer to who are people? Because who are people? Who am I? It kind of makes you kind of think all these different things. These people are they fake? Are they real? What's happening? But it really distorts that reality of is this our perception of it? Is this our perspective of it? Or is this what am I seeing?
And it's poking fun. It's a total satirization of course, of that time and period, right? That's what it's all about. And it's about, work culture, I think. Probably not so much, but it is, right? Trying to look good and impress people at work and things. Stupid, mindless stuff that to me means nothing. I don't care, right? I mean, but to some people, it's everything to some. Remember, because what does he say? I don't know, Patrick, I don't know why you want to work there anyway. Your father owns a company. Because I want to fit in, he says.
And you read my mind, Matt. I was just about to say the same thing. Like that whole scene of like, you don't need to do this. You know, your father practically owns the company.
Right.
Like,
yep. That's what is that what takeaway for you? The same thing then, or what?
Yep. I think that right there, I think you summarized it in that last line right directly from the movie, because I want to fit in. Like that's like my biggest takeaway from this movie is it's like at what length will you go to fit in, and at what length will you go to be noticed?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Right. Yeah. To be noticed. I'm look at me. I have lots of money and I have a great hair. My haircut's better than Paul Allen. And my, like, God, who cares? Like, like you said, take care of yourself. You should, obviously, of course, the skin routine and all the nonsense. That's funny. We can make fun of that, but and he's in great shape, whatever. Those parts are great, but he's completely insane at the same time. So it's like,
absolutely. Okay. And it's almost like, because if you read, like, obviously we don't want to ruin the book too much, but if you read the book and you watch the movie, I mean, one big giant thing that comes around is now just like the notice me, but like notice that I'm a madman. Notice my power. Notice what I can do. Like look what I'm capable of. But nobody notices. And what hits the ego harder than not being noticed? Not having that power.
Yeah, that's a great point. Wow. It's a great movie. Yeah, I definitely. There's a sequel. If you want to watch it out there, please be my guest. I have zero interest in watching it.
Please do.
It does have Jackie Burkhart from that '70s show, Mila Kunis in it, right? So that's maybe some saving grace. Who else is in it?
You know Anybody? What? I was trying to think about that before I jumped on here with you too. I was trying to think of it, and you know what? The movie's so non-rememberable. I can't even remember.
I'm not surprised by that. I'll look it up later and just see who they mention in it. But so don't you do like a rating system when you do your movies? What do you give this?
I believe I gave this movie out of like my 5 I think I gave it like a 4.67 or something.
Solid.
Because it is. I have to share.
There's not much wrong with it. There really isn't.
No. And one big thing is, like, in a time when I was a teenager, when I had this movie on DVD, I have it on VHS now, which is so funny, right? But
love it.
When I had it on DVD, I watched it all the time because it was one of like 10 movies I had. So I watched this movie so much.
I used to watch it a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so quotable. It's so quotable.
Yes, it really is.
Now that I have it on VHS, that format's funny enough.
Oh man.
But it's so funny because like I had it on DVD and now I have it on VHS because I have to return some videotapes.
You gotta return some videotapes. Oh my goodness. Well, we should probably return videotapes here too, as we could go on forever and ever. But
absolutely.
So anyway, Lisa, tell everyone where they can find you and learn more about the world's largest VHS horror collection.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me at Instagram is at horror macaroni. You can reach me there. I have a LinkedIn page. You can connect with me. I will be releasing my Patreon within the next week or so.
Oh, nice.
So look out for that. There's cool treats along with that too, including some VHS. Also, you can also check out VHS Night at the Broadway if you're in the Mount Pleasant area. We are going to be showing Jackass along with Magnum Opus. Is going to be opening up with my friend Addison Bennett. He directed this movie. It's a compilation of all his friends throughout time, kind of doing like Jackass CKY video kind of stuff. You can progressively see it get better quality as they grow, get more equipment.
Good.
We're showing Jackass right after that. He'll be doing a Q&A. And then VHS Night Broadway is also going to be doing one of my personal favorites.
Oh, look at that.
Romance.
There you go. Yes, I haven't seen that one in forever.
Because we're so cool. You're so cool.
Wow, True Romance. Yeah, jeez, that's an old one. That's a classic, right?
Love that one. Yes.
Very cool. And everyone, you guys listen to us. We know you love us, so we're obviously Instagram and at the Scary Movie Project, Facebook. Please, send the emails. Should I watch American Psycho 2? Should I discuss it? Probably not, but send us an email. scarymovieproject@gmail.com. I think that again, we've gone over everything. This was a great film. Read the book. Read more of Brett Easton Ellis. Also, he's really good. But that was a great episode, Lisa. Thank you again for being on.
Of course, thank you.
Until next time, remember, Dorsey, a great sea urchin ceviche.
The Scary Movie Project podcast. Learn more at thescarymovieproject.com.